Hey everyone, my name is Chris. This is my shop partner Oots, and in this video we're going to be doing a review on the new Estwing framing hammer. Now I just finished a big deck build, and when I was gathering materials at Lowe's, I saw their new Estwing hammer, and being a big fan of the classic Estwing, and just for $35 I decided to pick it up and give it a try. Now when I first got the hammer, I shared some pictures over on Instagram, and I had a couple comments telling me that I really needed to go pick up one of these fancy titanium hammers. So to be fair, I went out and I bought this high-end titanium hammer, and I used it alongside the Estwing on that deck build. And today we're going to put them through some more tests and take you guys along for the ride, so let's get started. But first I want to thank Lowe's for sponsoring this video. So there's a theory out there that the lighter titanium hammers allow you to actually swing them faster and therefore deliver more force and transfer more kinetic energy into the nail. The benefit of that being that it will require less energy to do the same amount of work. This is also something I've seen debated a lot in the hunting and shooting world. Will a lighter, faster arrow or bullet be able to penetrate deeper than a slower, heavier one? So as scientifically fair and accurate as possible, I wanted to test this theory. So what I'm going to do is pound 10 nails with each hammer and measure the velocity of each hammer in the last couple of hammer blows for each nail. This will give me 20 different measurements of velocity for each hammer, then I'll take the mean average of both hammers. Now I'm filming at 120 frames a second, and I have a tape measure right next to the hammer. With that, I can measure how far the hammer travels between one frame and the next frame, giving me its velocity. Then I'll plug the data into a kinetic energy formula, which is simply mass times velocity squared, and that will tell us the difference in kinetic energy. So let's get testing and find out for real. But before you watch the next part, let me know down in the description what you think is going to happen, what are your predictions, and what experiences have you had using these different types of hammers on the job sites you work at. So here you can see all the data I generated, and here is the mean average for those 20 different measurements for each hammer. And the titanium hammer did indeed travel a little bit faster than the Estwing. Next, I do some conversions to convert inches per second to meters per second, and then ounces to kilograms, which is what's needed to calculate joules of energy in the kinetic energy formula. After completing the calculations for each hammer, you can see that the Estwing produces 26.2252 joules of energy, and the titanium produces 26.3161 joules of energy. So it does actually produce more kinetic energy, but let's actually look at those numbers and see how significant it really is. Now, if the titanium hammer produced 50% more energy, I would be really impressed. Even 10% more energy would be pretty significant. But if you calculate the difference of the two, the titanium hammer didn't even produce 1/2% more energy, but it costs 400% more. So if you're considering buying a titanium hammer because you believe it will do more work because it's lighter, I would have to say that the difference is pretty insignificant, and it wouldn't really be money well spent in that regard. So now let's get into some of the more hands-on testing and see how they compare there, and then I'll spend the last part of the video going over the individual features of each hammer and what I do and don't like about both. Alright, so the first test we're going to do is a speed test. I'm going to take both these hammers, I'm going to take 20 16 penny nails, drive them in as fast as I can, and we're going to time them to see if there's any noticeable difference in speed. We'll do that test twice to try to get a really consistent good result. 3, 2, 1. So I ran that test a couple times and the titanium hammer won by a couple seconds each time, but I'm chalking that up to my own accuracy rather than the speed or the power having anything to do with it. And as you can see, the titanium hammer has a much larger face than the Estwing. Because of that, I didn't miss the nail at all like I did with the Estwing hammer, and that resulted in faster times. All right, so now we're gonna move on to some big nails. I have these, which are huge nails, and then these basically vampire stakes. We're gonna use both hammers. I'm gonna measure how many times it takes me to use both hammers under normal conditions. So let's start pounding some nail. Here we go. This nail's huge. All right. 6. That was 5. That's 5 when I don't count the first strike. Whew! All right, let's try the titanium hammer. So I was getting, not including the first strike, about 5 blows. All right. 1, 2, 6. It doesn't quite drive him on that 5th strike. That did 5. 6. 1. I don't think it has quite as much kinetic energy to it. I'm swinging just as hard with both, and it doesn't quite drive as far on that fifth strike as the Estwings did. All right, now let's move on to these monsters. Got 3 each. The biggest nails I could possibly find. We're gonna measure the number of blows it takes to seat this, not including the first one. 1. Whew! My God. All right. Whew. That one, it was less. All right, let's keep going. Hefty. I think this one's winning on this round. Say 12. My arm's on fire. My God. So why did I just do that test? Because that's why. So let's take a look at the features of these different hammers, and first let's take a look at the Estwing and how it compares to the original Classic. The first thing I notice is that the claw is actually flatter and the face is set a little bit farther back on the hammer. Now, a flatter claw doesn't do a very good job of pulling nails out, but what it does do is it gets into corners a little bit easier and also does a really good job prying. Now, the metal part of the new hammer has more of an I-beam shape than the diamond shape on the Classics. I think this gives the hammer more rigidity for when you need to pry on things. The hammer won't flex or twist as much. So the new hammer has one of those handy magnetic nail sets built into the top. It allows the user to reach harder reach or overhead places to start the nail and then drive it home. The new hammers also have this additional nail puller which is set into the side of the hammer. Now the handle is made out of that same indestructible rubber coating that they have on the Classic, but they added a really nice palm swell right in the sweet spot where you need to grab the handle. I really like this feature of the new hammer. It feels really, really good in the hand and lets you instantly register where you need to grab the hammer for best use. As you can see, they added a really nice sharp looking blue paint to the hammer, and it looks great off the rack, but over time it's really going to get banged up and start looking pretty ragged. Now the Classics also come with a clear rust preventing coating when they come off the rack, but they also end up looking pretty bad over time. So I usually will end up sandblasting or wire brushing this coating off after a while and just add some preventative oil to keep it from rusting, and they look great. Now let's take a look at the titanium hammer. Like I said before, I'm not going to mention any certain brands of hammers because I couldn't afford every different brand out there. Now I tried to pick one that was popular and a good representative of titanium hammers as a whole for a good comparison against the Estwing. You can obviously get them in different weights, handle materials, shapes, and sizes. So this hammer's body and head are made of titanium, but the interchangeable face is made of steel. So it's steel hitting the nail just like on the Estwing. Now you can replace the face of these hammers, but the face of the hammer actually costs a little bit more than the Estwing hammer by itself. One of the other claims is that because titanium is lighter than steel, it causes less stress on the joints. For guys that swing a hammer all day, every day, this could be true. I can't really say for sure. I haven't seen any studies or anything like that, so I'm just going to leave that to everybody's personal experience. Now this titanium hammer has a different shaped nail puller than on the Estwing, and that's my favorite part of this hammer. The nail puller works extremely well, and it works quite a bit better than on the Estwing. Even though the nail puller is super nice, it's not a make or break feature for me. First, if the nail isn't completely set into the wood, I can usually get it out the old-fashioned way by just prying back and forth with the claw. And to be honest, if you're a practice with a hammer and a good framer, there won't be a lot of times that you actually need to pull nails. Now, if the nail is completely set into the wood, you'll probably have to use a cat's claw or pry bar to get the nail out, which carpenters pretty much always carry on them anyway. This hammer also has a nail set that's on top of the head. It works just fine, just like on the Estwing. Now onto my least favorite part of the hammer, the grip. It's really narrow, and compared to the nice palm swell on the Estwing, I really don't like it that much. Now it's just my personal preference, and some people might like that skinny grip, but for me, I really prefer holding the Estwing with that really nice palm swell. It also has more of a curved hatchet style handle. I'm not sure if that's a benefit or not. It might vary from situation to situation. And it also has a thumb index. I'm not really sure what the point of that is. If you guys know, please let me know down in the description. But for me, I don't really need a thumb index to know where to grab the handle. It's just kind of second nature. I certainly wouldn't use the hammer with my thumb in that position. It feels really unnatural, and it actually feels like if I would use it that way, it would maybe jam my thumb. So I'm not really sure what the point of the thumb index is. I much prefer the palm swell for grabbing and indexing the hammer and just comfort. So in conclusion, I have to say these are both really nice hammers. They've been a pleasure to use, and there's things that I like and disliked about both of them. For my testing here today, I don't believe the claims that the titanium hammer delivers more energy because it's lighter and faster. Yes, it's faster, but there's less mass behind it than the other, so they basically cancel each other out. As far as feel goes, the titanium hammer actually feels about as heavy as the heavier Estwing. It's because it has a longer handle, and when you're grabbing it, basically how physics and levers work, that lighter weight farther out on that lever feels a little bit more heavy. As far as grip goes, I definitely like the comfort in the hand of the Estwing more, but some people might like the titanium grip more or wood handles more. As far as joint stress goes and vibration, I thought both of them performed really, really well. I think they're both actually enjoyable to use. I didn't feel any vibration or discomfort in using both these hammers quite a lot lately. I think that has a lot more to do with genetics and the individual's form. When I was back in high school and throwing a baseball from the middle infield, I had really, really bad elbow problems because of that. Then later on, I actually had a job in a roof truss company swinging a 28-ounce hammer, Estwing hammer, for an entire year straight, all day, every day, and I never had any joint problems at all. So I think that's going to vary from individual to individual. If they're having joint problems or feeling vibration, experimenting with different hammers might help. I'm not so sure. That's going to be more of an individual thing. And I know this topic's about as controversial and divided as politics, and I'm probably gonna get a lot of nasty comments and opinions, but these are just my opinions. This is what I like and this is what I didn't like, different things like that. But each individual is gonna have their own preference, and I totally respect that. For me, I think I'm gonna stick with the Estwing. It's just a fraction of the cost. I think it does a really good job. It's just a piece of Americana too. The Estwing hammer has been probably on every job site over the last 100 years. It's tried and true. There's just something about it. I love the brand. I really like this new hammer, so this is what I'm going to carry in my tool belt. If you're interested in one of these hammers, I have links to those down in the description. Make sure you go check those out. There's classics, there's these new ones. They also have one that has a little bar right here so that you can grab 2x4s and twist them into place. They're great hammers. These are also great hammers. You can find all sorts of different titanium hammers on Amazon and other places, but there's too many different brands and styles to list here. Well, everyone, thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you learned something. Hope maybe it provided some good information for you. I learned some things. I feel like in my mind, I kind of debunked some of the marketing, advertising claims. They're both great hammers, and they'll both do anybody a really, really good job. We'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.